5 minutes remaining in free practice 2, and hot laps beginning to come in. Axel Bassani's just crossed the line with a new personal best of a 1 minute 42.477. Watch out for Jonathan Rea making his way through now the final sector. Bassani goes straight on at turn 1, but it's Rea who's the man in focus here on a hot lap and provisionally set to challenge for P1. Bautista the fastest man at the moment, 1 minute 42 flat. Jonathan Rea's come through the penultimate sector, and we pick him up now directly on track. You saw Scott Redding up ahead. Redding making his way towards the line. Then it's Luca Mayas, and it's Jonathan Rea following Mayas. So a bit of a role reversal compared to what we usually see. Rea has crossed the line. He's gone P2. Not far behind, less than a tenth of a second behind Alvaro Bautista's fastest time. So again, less than a tenth of a second separates the two direct rivals, the men who finished first and second in the world in 2019, and the same two who came to blows last time out in Manicourt. So Rea up to P2. That might well be just in time, because we've got a few spots of rain reported in Sector 4, which is where Jonathan Rea actually managed to come through and complete his lap to go P2.
Yeah, what's interesting is Rea was 0.3 of a second off the pace in the first sector, found that time in the second sector, and then sectors 3 and 4 just matched the pace of Bautista as well. So that bodes well for them. And like you said, though, Alex, the spots of rain in the final sector, just where Alvaro Bautista's coming through now, that's going to be a bit of a warning for all the riders now. 3 minutes left in the session, but the hard work's done at this stage, and now it's a case of just seeing what you're able to get out of the final couple of laps if you want to push on through the spots of rain. It's still 26 degrees out there, 42 degrees track temperature, so anything that's fallen is drying pretty quickly. It's literally just something that's going to hit your visor at this moment, but it is still one of those things for the riders to keep an eye on, because there's nothing to gain in the final 3 minutes of free practice 2.
Bautista commented in advance of this round that it might not be a bad thing to get a little bit of wet running, because there hasn't been a huge amount of wet running for him since returning to Ducati, and inevitably that's one of the uncertainties over a race weekend, because it's a minority of sessions and a minority of testing, and a minority, I mean, teams at times don't even want to use any of their tests up on a wet weather session, so the running is rather restricted in wet conditions.
Yeah, you get a certain amount of days that you're able to use for testing, and whenever it becomes a wet day, teams opt to keep their bikes in the garage, not go back out, and we've seen that time and again. And then when we do get wet sessions, teams and riders need to adapt to it very quickly, and it's a big challenge for them, and that's what can be quite interesting. It's like what we heard from Leon Camier there about the progress that Honda's trying to make. Their big advantage, BMW's big advantage, is they've got less restrictive testing regulations, so they're able to get out on track a lot more often through the course of the season. Camier has said all along, Honda won't test for the sake of testing. They need to make sure that there's upgrades in the line. They need to make sure that there's something there for them to see whether there's an improvement. We saw here at the Catalan test a few weeks ago that they did have some major upgrades. Camier has spoken there about hopefully Portimao is when we'll be able to see them. That looks like it's certainly the goal for Honda. Speaking to people within the factory, that's certainly the target, but it's still a question mark until they actually roll out the new parts.
Alex Lowe's crossing the line to go 6th fastest in the session, 1 minute 42.390, fastest of FP2. Time from FP1 still faster than that. Andrea Locatelli is also on a good lap here, 1 minute 42.721 is his previous best in the session, but at the moment he's up by almost a tenth of a second after 3 completed sectors compared to Alvaro Bautista's time. That may be vulnerable here. We pick up Locatelli on the 55, 1.5 minutes remaining in free practice 2, 1:42 flat. Nobody's gone sub 1 minute 42 in this afternoon session. We did see Rinaldi manage it and Razgat Lioglu manage it earlier on as well, most notably as Iker Lecuona. Locatelli is not going to be able to go sub 1 minute 42 either. He's also within a tenth of a second though of Alvaro Bautista's time, so it's Bautista, Rea, Locatelli, Rinaldi with less than a tenth of a second separating them, and Xavi Vierge less than 2 tenths down on Bautista.
Yeah, and Toprak staying in the pits as well, so we're not going to see a flurry of lap times, including the world champion at the end of this session. He's leaving now. He's not going to have time to get a lap in. He's just going out for practice start at the end of the session.
Yes, of course, with less than a minute on the clock, not even Toprak could get back round and to try and start a flying lap in that time.
What's quite interesting is Bautista has a 42.0 as his fastest lap. He actually had a 42.0 deleted as well for the yellow flags for crash up at turn 10. It must be for the Nozane crash. So he's had quite a few fast laps in this session. When we look at the chrono at the end of this session, when we see all the lap analysis, we'll be able to see that Bautista's had a little bit of an edge over everyone all the way through today.
Alvaro Bautista then the man to beat this weekend. It was always set up as such here in Barcelona. His fan club travelling from central Spain up to the northeast, where they hope to see him extend his points lead, and with rounds ticking away for his rivals to try and match him. Only 5 rounds to go after this one. Checkered flag falls. Final effort here from Bautista then, and it could go one step better. He is already P1. Could he further extend his lead in the session? It is a new fastest lap, a 1:40.018, which means that Michael Ruben Rinaldi will finish FP2 just over a tenth of a second now behind Bautista. So some strong, but most importantly consistent pace for Bautista late on.
Yeah, 3 laps within 100th of a second of each other, so Bautista certainly feeling pretty confident at this stage. Just saw that as we ride on board with Jonathan Rea coming through the final sector, his teammate Alex Lowe's moved up to 6th, that lap taken away from him, so he's down the order as well, which for Kawasaki it's going to be interesting to see what they assess today's performance is like, because obviously Rea at the end of this session has been able to put in a few fast times. He hasn't had that speed for anything else during the rest of today, so Kawasaki, they're certainly going to feel that they'll need to make some improvements. Or was this the program all along? That's what's going to be interesting as we head into tomorrow, because we know over a single lap with the Q Tire Super Pole, Rea's going to be right there, but what's he going to be like in race 1 this time tomorrow?